From the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer Show coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Just about half that work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos as per usual. Speaking of as per usual, JD Picell with us in 15 minutes. He is, of course, the host of the Hard Count from On 3. I'm going to talk some college football with JD. Tough times for Dabo, Jimbo, Shane Beamer, Alex Grinch. We'll get to all that as well as a preview of this week's games from JD. It's a What If Wednesday. At 1:30, we'll get to some of that. Aaron Nola's going to be real rich real soon. We'll talk about that in the end of hour number one. Adam Stites covers Jacksonville Jaguars for the Jaguars Wire. He's part of the USA Today Network. He's with us at the top of hour number two. And, of course, we got our SEC football power rankings to get to in hour number two. So we are low-ho-hoed on this Wednesday. Again, thanks for hanging out with us. We start with LSU, and you just had this 5-game blitz of SEC action. You were on the road in Starkville and home against Arkansas, and you went to Oxford, and then you went to Missouri and come home for Auburn, and it's fast and furious. And that bye week is lingering out there, but it's not this week. You do have a game this week. It's a Saturday night in Death Valley against Army. And Brian Kelly had a message yesterday at his press availability on Monday about potentially overlooking Army with the bye in Alabama on the back half of this thing.
It'll be important for our guys to think about what's important right now. And the bye week's not important right now. We don't go to the bye week this week. This week we need to focus on our development, and we need to focus on our process, and we need to focus on Army. If we focus on anything else, we'll get beat. This football team is not a team that can play with the dimmer. You know, we're either on or off. And so we need to be on. And so if we're locked in and doing our thing the right way, we're going to have a good Saturday. If we're not, we're going to struggle. And so we'll talk about that today when we meet. We've got to be locked in on our process and how we prepare this week against a really tough opponent.
And look, the guys have got to be locked in. They've got Army this week. They need to go out and play really well. They don't need to be focused on other things. However, this is what you have me for. I don't have to focus on Army. I don't have to game plan for Army. I don't have to lift weights for Army. I don't have to know my assignments for Army, substitution patterns. I don't have to know any of that stuff. I can focus on whatever I want. So I'm not going to focus on the X's and O's against Army right now and the game plan against Army right now. I'm just going to work off the radio man assumption that LSU is going to beat the brakes off of Army. Okay? Army didn't score yet last week against Troy. Okay? Army lost to UL Monroe and scored 13 points. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time focusing on Army. I hope Coach Kelly does. Hope Coach Denbrock does. Hope Coach Houch does. I hope all those players, scholarship, walk-ons, NIL deals, I hope they just lock in on the Black Knights. I'm not. Here's what I'm locked in on, and that's what LSU can do to improve its football team and its football program on Saturday, and what we can expect to analyze post-game and next week as you head into a bye. This is an opportunity for LSU to blitz this team and really do whatever they want in terms of personnel and game plan in this game. Now, we had better than a decade of experience under Les Miles that suggested, hey, these games, they're going to run the football a ton. They're going to win by 4 or 5 scores. The backup quarterback is not going to take any meaningful snaps. Some of the freshmen might get in the fourth quarter when there's only 6,700 people left, and you'll get on down the road. The final score will be 38-10, and that's it. And maybe that's the way Brian Kelly wants to handle this one too. I don't know, but I don't have as much data on Brian Kelly as I did on Les Miles. And with Ed Ogeron, you had a couple of years early, and then you had the weird COVID year where it was all SEC games, and then they were really struggling on the back end, and so there wasn't enough sample size with that either. So I don't know. But with Brian Kelly, I think there are some guys who could get some nice reps in this game. I don't look at this game like I look at a game against Grambling or Southern. Army is a team that has higher caliber players than those two teams. And certainly, and not that Grambling or Southern didn't give any effort, but I know Army's going to give effort. So any rep that you get in this game is not going to be with a guy who's equal to you in terms of talent, but there's going to be effort and discipline, and it's going to be a team that's going to play until the whistle ends. So there are some guys that I would like to see in the game. Certainly Garrett Nussmeier continues to be one of those. And the backup quarterback is always the story these weeks, but Garrett is likely going to get the keys to this thing next year. In an era where your backup quarterback may or may not ever play for you, and that's still the case with Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, we thought, that Miles Brennan was the guy, and then all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels is the guy. It's a fickle position these days with the transfer portal. But it feels like Garrett Nussmeier's got a real chance to be your guy next year. I'd like to see him get as many meaningful snaps as he can. And you know what happens if Garrett Nussmeier doesn't play? If he does play? Jaden Daniels and neither of his ACLs are playing, which is great news for me because you've got bigger fish to fry than Army in the second half. So I hope Garrett Nussmeier, who's only completed 5 passes this year, can get out there and play a little bit. Caleb Jackson can get some meaningful reps. Logan Diggs has carried a heavy workload over the last month. He's been the lead back, and you're going to need him to carry a heavy workload down the road here. He doesn't have to on Saturday. I would love it if Caleb Jackson got those reps. I understand Josh Williams and John Emery are still pieces in this backfield, and they're guys who have earned playing time and are going to get playing time moving forward. I'd like to see Caleb Jackson. He's incredibly skilled. He showed you in Starkville the power with a stiff arm. He showed you on Saturday the power ran over that Auburn secondary member. He showed you the speed on the kickoff return. I'd like to see him put some of those things to use in a game where if he blows a pass preparation deal or fumbles a football or does something that a young player might do, it doesn't matter. I'd love to see him out in the game. Lance Hurd is going to have to play a ton in this game because we don't know what Emory Jones' status is. We do know for this weekend, but what it is for Alabama after the bye. Lance Hurd needs as many reps as he can get at right tackle. That is a big, big deal potentially for this team. If you're going to go to Tuscaloosa and put a true freshman out there at right tackle, I'd really like him to get 3 quarters worth of work against Army inside Tiger Stadium, where his false starts and holding penalties aren't very costly to you. Maybe Matt Markway and Kenmorian Pimpton, who have combined for 3 catches this year. We looked at that tight end room and went, well, you got Mason Taylor, and that's a good start, but it's a lot of freshmen after that. Maybe they'll be contributors. And we went out to practice, and we told you about the jump balls that Kenmorian Pimpton was pulling down, and we just haven't seen those guys used very much because Mason Taylor's the one tight end. He's doing a great job. He's been pretty healthy. No reason to go with anybody else. Markway played a little bit more when Taylor went down, but he's come back, and those 2 guys are kind of been phased out. I'd like to see them maybe phased back in on Saturday night. And here's just a massive overreaction on my part on a Wednesday of a game week with a bye week coming after that. I realize this is a sick and twisted thought, but it's one that comes through my head every time they play one of these games, especially when I know what's coming next. Just know this, Brian Kelly. Just know this, Matt House. Every single starter that you put out on the field Saturday night in the second half is, by definition, at risk for the first half of the Alabama game. Okay? You want to put Harold Perkins out there? You want to put Mason Smith out there? You want to put Major Burns out there? They get a targeting call? Missing a half. Now, the most famous example of that was Devin White in the Mississippi State game, getting that targeting call in 2018, where he couldn't play in the first half against Alabama. But that's just a fact of the rules. The rule's atrocious. It's an awful, awful, awful rule. But it exists. So it's less likely with your offensive guys. It is more likely with your defensive guys that they could get that whistled on them. So if you want to get some young guys some reps, I might think about that in the second half. Again, I don't think coaches coach like that. I think they're thinking they want to get their guys out there, execute the game plan, play, and we'll deal with whatever happens. Can't coach against injuries, can't coach against targeting. Well, you can coach against injuries and targeting. You put them on the bench. And guys can get hurt in practice. That can happen. But in terms of targeting, that happens on a Tuesday. You just do the next rep. That happens on a Saturday. You miss half the game against Alabama. So let's see Ashton Stamps and LaTerrence Welsh and Ryan Yates. Army's not going to throw a lot, but let's see those guys out there. Good game for Whit Weeks to get in there early and get his reps if Omar Spates is kind of taking those reins. Really nice opportunity for Deshaun Womack to get in there and play. That's a guy with great talent who's flashed a little bit and shown some pops. Let's see a little bit out against Army. I don't know if anything's going to happen. Maybe the starters play 3 quarters and 2 drives, and you get the backups for garbage time. But LSU's offense is built in a way that they ought to be able to jet out in front of Army. If they can jet out to those kind of starts against Auburn and against Arkansas and Mississippi State and all that, you can do it against Army. This is not a less team that's toss dive, run left and right. You're running clock, and it takes you a while to score 28 points. LSU can score 28 points in the first quarter of some of these games. That puts you in a position moving forward to do the things you need to do heading into the bye week and heading into Alabama. I'd like to see a bunch of young players in the second half on Saturday. We'll see if Brian Kelly feels the same way. But they're not overlooking Army. Just leaving that to me, neighborhood-friendly radio guy. We'll come back with JD Picell of On 3 Sports next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. David Vaughn and his team been in the game 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. The holidays are coming up. What a cool opportunity for you to give a gift of a new bathroom or a new closet. David Vaughn and his team would love to help you. It starts with a free consultation, starts with a questionnaire. They decide what you've got, what your needs are, what they can do for you. If you're thinking, man, I don't know if I can pay for that right now. Well, look at some of the financing options. One Bath & Closets has financing options available to you. They can make it far more affordable than you might think. It can be a full-scale renovation or remodel of a bathroom or closet. Could also be just a tub-to-shower conversion, something simple. Pull that tub out that you never use, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Could change everything in that bathroom for you. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Testimonials are there. Pictures of their great work is there. That free consultation is one click away at OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Russ Mitchell joins us to preview the weekend ahead in the SEC. We'll take a closer look at Saints Jags. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
What If Wednesday coming at you in 15 minutes by E4 Chat. I know you're all ears. Throw some what ifs in there. We'll see if we can get to those in 15 minutes. For now, we got better things to do. Chat with our guy JD Picell of On 3 Sports. He is host of The Hard Count and with us every single Wednesday. JD, how we doing?
Brother, doing phenomenal. It's like hump day for us. I say it's like hump day. It is hump day, but I've seen Jake Crane of Daily Wire tweeting out this, and I've identified with it. Like Wednesdays, like you're second and long. You got to find a way to get some yardage, and so that's what we're doing right now, man. Getting yards and getting closer to Saturday.
I fight that battle here. We do 10 hours a week, and like I have to struggle not to just dive into X's and O on Tuesdays, and then all of a sudden you would look in on Thursday and go, "What are we supposed to talk about now?" You gotta sometimes kind of play it slow like that. Maybe run a draw there on second and long. Get yourself into a manageable situation here.
Little screen pass to kind of soften up that defense. Keep them honest. You know?
So I want to ask you about four guys. I'll list them out, and then we can talk about them individually. You name the one you'd like to talk about first. Shane Beamer's kicking stuff. Plus, they're not winning a lot of games. Dabo's saying goofy things. Jimbo can't win on the road, and Alex Grinch is still employed somehow. Who would you like to chat about right now?
You know what? We talked a little Shane Beamer this morning, so let's start with him. This whole thing optically looks bad, and it looks worse because they're not playing great.
Yeah.
Hunt, I think you could probably attest to this. Like, if South Carolina had one loss and he kicked a chair or whatever, he kicked Gatorade cooler and broke his foot, it's like, oh man, Shane Beamer, he's just emotional, man. He cares about his team, wears hard on his sleeve, he's genuine. Like, hey, that's what he is. But since they've won, I think they've won 2 ball games. Tell me if I'm wrong there.
That's right.
But if that was a different story, like now we're saying, oh, he's a crybaby, he's too emotional, he's this, he's that, and so like I think the goggles of winning changes this quite a bit. Like I don't see this as a big issue. I think it's a bad look that he kicked something and broke his foot. I think it's a worse look. They blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter to Florida at home. So I mean, I think that's probably the real story there to me. And no, I mean, there's no way around it. Like you should not blow a fourth quarter lead, especially not at home. And that's where I think probably should get a little bit more conversation. But the breaking the foot thing, I'm sure it hurts. I mean, that sucks in general. You got to limp around, probably wear a boot or crutches or whatever. But that's not the thing that I'm worried about so much with Shane Beamer.
I mean, if you look statistically at them, their run defense is the worst in the league. Their run offense is atrocious. They're not stopping anybody. They're not beating anybody. And it's just they had that momentum late last year in November, and Spencer Rattler has played great. If you showed me his stat line, I'd go, oh, they really probably have something. They don't have anything anywhere else outside of Leggett.
Which is crazy because those last 2 games, too, it was kind of like this Gamecock factor, the Beamer ball. Like, they weren't really stopping the run great in those 2 top 10 wins either. I mean, against Notre Dame, they couldn't stop anybody. And that was kind of the question going into the offseason was like, okay, can Spencer Rattler do what he did at the end of the year? Got that check. Can we stop anybody defensively? Can we stop the run? Can we be like a physical football team? Not so much. And, like, in the SEC, like it's not novel analysis to say that's like the price of admission to be able to stop somebody on the ground. So the fact that they can't, I mean, it obviously just speaks volumes to what they need to do, I think, this offseason.
Let's stay in that state. Dabo Swinney keeps saying weird stuff. Yesterday he said, maybe we need to lose a few games so people will get off the bandwagon. Doesn't really love the transfer portal. I mean, what do we make of Dabo's situation currently?
Yeah, probably not a welcome thing to hear as your football team is once again outside looking at the college football playoff race with a couple losses. I think there's a couple of thoughts I had on this. The first is Dabo Swinney seems to consistently have an issue with like people expecting Clemson to be undefeated and to compete for national titles and stuff. And it's like, well, one, those are expectations you've created by putting together really good football teams. I understand there's what Clemson was before we got there and where they are now. But it's like, it doesn't matter where you were. Like, the credit is to Dabo Swinney that he got them now to a place where Clemson football is a relevant brand in the sport. So let's not make it a conversation around, well, hey, we lost a couple games. Y'all think we suck? It's like, no, nobody thinks you suck, but relative to the standard that you've provided for us, yeah, you're missing the mark, because we've expected Clemson to be a team that's always in that national title picture. So that's the first part. The other part is, I got good news for Dabo Swinney. The playoff that's expanding here is we're going to see some 3-loss teams that are conference champs and find their way into the dance in this 12-team format. So I would say, if you're Dabo Swinney, let's stick around a little bit. Let's sit tight. And I don't think you're shaking too many people off the bandwagon when it comes to that expanded playoff. You can lose 2 or 3 and still be in it. But, yeah, the whole thing is very, very bizarre in terms of the verbiage and the timing with the way this team's playing right now.
Jimbo Fisher's Aggies have not won a road game in 2 years. Their offense has scored 3 points in each of the last 3 SEC games. What do we make of the situation in College Station?
We're getting to a point here where you start looking at that buyout, and it's a hilarious conversation to even say, is $67 million that much money? Like, hey, we can, we build buildings around here all the time for around that, chunk of change. Which I don't actually know if that's true, but that's kind of the way it feels. I know Bruce Feldman came out with some sort of report that essentially alluded to the fact that the boosters are kind of like, hey, can we scrape this together to make this happen if we do need to press the eject button? Like I was saying, though, you're at this point where what is keeping them from success that's controllable? I'm a Texas A&M fan. Like, we have a good coaching staff in place. Yeah, Bobby Petrino seems like he's got a pretty good track record in terms of what he's done there or done in the college football landscape. DJ Durkin, pretty good DC. I don't think the defense is the problem. They've got good personnel. They've got a great front seven. Recruiting classes, yep, got them. NIL, yep, got them. So, at what point is it like, okay, hey, the common denominator year in and year out is Jimbo Fisher. Again, I don't pretend to know exactly what goes on with that buyout and how much they need to, get together to make that happen or how short they are of that. But the fact that it's a conversation, it feels like we've been talking about this for a while now of could they, will they, might they, and the fact that it's really gaining some traction now is a bit concerning. I think for me, we're still a year away from totally cutting ties, but the fact that it's gaining momentum is not a good thing for Jimbo Fisher.
JD Picell, host of the Hard Count on the On3 Sports YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that channel, get your college football content each and every day. How would you feel if you put Washington on the field with Georgia or Michigan at this point?
I would not feel good. I would not feel good because of the way that Oregon ran the football. Like, we went into this game, and Hunt, I picked Oregon in that one, and I said Oregon's going to bully them up and down the field. They're going to run the ball all over them. One of those two things happened. They did not win the game, but they did run the ball for over 200 yards. And I think Oregon, as good as they are up front, like what Michigan would bring, what a Georgia would bring, I think would be a step up from that. And so I love Michael Penix Jr. I worry about a situation where they take away, the deep pass game for them and take away just the elite perimeter play they have. I don't know that they have a ton of other styles they can win football games. Like, if Oregon were to convert a couple of those fourth downs, and it's woulda, shoulda, coulda at this point, but if they do, like, we're having a very different conversation around Washington, and we're asking how good are they really. So I get the 2019 comparisons to LSU. I understand that. Like, I see where they're coming from. To me, LSU in that era was just so much more dominant. They did have a better defense. They had more skilled players. Like, I think I get the comp, but I think that LSU is still their own class in that 2019 period.
It takes a lot for me to take my eyes off the SEC game, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon. Whenever I have a chance to watch, and I'm not doing pre and post game or watching LSU. But 11 o'clock, Mississippi State, Arkansas in Fayetteville. I think I'm going to go to Ohio State, Penn State, and spend some time over there. That's going to be a pretty good one. How do we feel about it on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, man, I think Penn State's built for a game like this. Like, I think they have recruited at such a level and developed that depth at such a level to where, and we had James Franklin on during the offseason, and he told us, he's like, this is the deepest, most talented team I've had. And so there's a little bit of a feeling like, yes, it's at Ohio State, so you have that going against you, but you have your most talented quarterback you've had probably on campus in State College. You have a first-year quarterback for Ohio State that you're playing against. Your roster has never been at a place like this. Like, if not now, then when is kind of the feeling if I'm a Penn State fan. Like, this has to be the time where we sort of elevate ourselves and make a statement of being a top-tier Big Ten team, not just that third-place team behind Michigan and Ohio State. It's, and Penn State. Honestly, I like, for what I just said, for the depth they have, and I think what they have up front. I think they're going to beat Ohio State. I think it's close. I think it goes probably down to the very last play, but I like Penn State to get it done because of what I just said with Drew Aller and what they have now throwing the football on top of what they have on the offensive line and that defense being able to be so deep. So I like Penn State, but man, I'm with you. I think that's probably getting the nod for me ahead of Arkansas, Mississippi State as well.
Look, that rarely happens for me. Like I watch the SEC almost exclusively on the times I can spend around the TV on Saturday, which is not a ton of time. But I'll have Ohio State, Penn State on for a good bit on Saturday morning. I'll also try to keep my eyes on this one, although pregame responsibilities are going to take me away from it. But Tennessee headed to Tuscaloosa. This is obviously a revenge spot for Alabama, which doesn't happen all that much. It's a very, very different Tennessee team. But do you think that the Vols can go to Bryant-Denny and win?
I think they can. I think that the big question I have, and this question probably Tennessee fans have had since the season started, is like, what are we getting from Joe Milton? I thought last week Tennessee was kind of in a tricky spot with A&M and how well they stopped the run, and Josh Heupel just dialed it up, spread them out, and was able to find a way to run the ball for over 200 yards. So if they run for over 200 against Alabama, like, good things are going down on Rocky Top when they get back, I'm sure. I really, if it comes down to quarterbacks, which it feels like this game does, Jalen Milroe has just shown me that he is more capable of pushing the ball downfield, one, and then two, just makes more plays. Like, there's a couple of plays that we've seen from him, even in that Texas game where he didn't start the week after. Like, there's a couple of plays where you say, oh, okay, that's why he's starting quarterback, because he can run out of a sack and turn it into a first down. So the playmaking factor of Alabama and what I don't know Joe Milton could do, it would take Joe Milton doing something we haven't seen him do this year. I'll put it that way. So I think Bama wins. I think that's another close one, though. I don't like the 8.5 points favoring Bama at all.
I think a lot of people will be surprised to know that Tennessee's 11th in the SEC in passing offense. They're only in front of Arkansas, Kentucky, and Auburn in terms of throwing the ball this year. Yeah, they haven't lost other than the one trip down to the swamp, but they're not efficient through the air at all. It is a far cry from what they were last year. JD, we'll let you go. Thank you much, sir.
You the man. Enjoy the week, and hey, let's pick up this first down here. Huh? Let's convert here.
We will do it, and we'll get to a bye week down here in Baton Rouge coming up next week. Thanks, man.
Have a good one, brother.
JD Picell, host of the Hard Count on On3's YouTube channel. JD's does an awesome job. He has got a ton of content on YouTube. If you're looking for your college football stuff, subscribe to On3's YouTube channel and check out the Hard Count with JD Picell. All right, it's 1:30 on Wednesday. Let's get to What If Wednesday next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. The collaboration between Ochsner and MD Anderson is going to provide patients in the region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the entire nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana that's got fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards, their treatment plans, protocols. It's got access to their specialists and researchers. They've got groundbreaking research, innovative therapies, as well as some select clinical trials that are available to eligible patients. That's awesome news. Ochsner and MD Anderson are partnering together to continue to fight cancer, which affects all of us. That expert care is going to be offered in 7 different locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, Baton Rouge, and they're working to certify additional sites moving forward into the future. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, we invite you to head over to ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Voisin, inviting you to join me, along with the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy, for Louisiana Prep Weekly. We're talking Dunham Tigers football with special guest defensive coordinator Caleb Leindecker. Louisiana Prep Weekly, Wednesday night at 6, live from Walk-Ons in Town Center on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Adam Stites going to be with us in about 30 minutes. He covers the Jaguars for the USA Today Network. Jags at the Saints tomorrow night in the Dome. SEC football power rankings coming up. Also have media picks for SEC basketball. Plus a former Tiger is going to be real rich here coming up. Richer than he is currently, which is pretty rich. But first, let's do What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if you could have one free throw for $1 million tax-free or 6 months in jail?
This is one of those famous internet questions. Look, I played high school basketball and was a decent high school shooter. I was a bad free throw shooter, though. I think my senior year I shot like 58%. But I don't know the last time I shot a free throw. So I got to think my odds of knocking that down are 35% on my first shot. If you gave me a week to practice, I really think I could get some rhythm going. If you're just going to hand me a basketball today, I'm thinking my odds there are 35%. That's just some rough numbers there as I think about it. I have to take the shot. I have to try to get $1 million by shooting a basketball. And look, I think my wife and son will survive 6 months. I think Guarantee will be just fine if I'm gone for 6 months. I'm not going to have a good time in jail for 6 months. But that, again, is not a massive chunk of what I hope to be fairly long life. So I got to take the shot. I think I'm well less than 50% from the free throw stripe, but we got to give it a play.
All right, next one here. What if you could move one SEC coach to another SEC job to see how it works out?
I think the obvious play would be to move Kirby, who's doing it better than anybody and is still very young, to Vandy and see what it looks like, see what he could do with Vanderbilt. But if I'm trying to kind of maybe go the other way, I wouldn't mind giving Mark Stoops a chance at Florida or Alabama. I wouldn't mind giving Eli Drinkwitz a chance at Florida or Alabama. And then there's a morbid part of me that wants to see what like Kirby would do at A&M. Because you figure he's like one of those, it's very rare. Like for a while, it was just Urban Meyer and Nick Saban. They were the only two sure things. And it feels like Kirby's that way. Now, Dabo had that kind of a grip, and it's slipping right now. But so maybe not in 5 years. But I guess if I'm going to answer the question directly, it's going to be Kirby at Vanderbilt. If I'm going to throw it the other way, I would say I'd like to see Lane Kiffin at Florida and see what that looks like. He's not known as a great high school recruiter, and so Mullen went there and didn't do a great job in high school of recruiting, and they didn't win much. But I'd like to see Lane get his hands on that kind of athlete, which you're not going to get at Ole Miss. So that's my answer.
What if you have to pay $1 a year for Twitter/X?
I would do it. It's just too important to what I do. It's where I get almost all my news. Plus, it's enjoyable during huge sporting events. I mean, I probably refresh Twitter. I can't even imagine 180, 200 times a day, probably. I would guess. I mean, I do it during the show the whole time just to make sure something crazy hasn't happened, and that's where I would get it. Unless somebody texted me, and Twitter's basically where I get all my news. I mean, I can vividly remember sitting on my old apartment couch right after college, finding out on Twitter that Osama bin Laden was dead. Like, Twitter's basically and if you want to call it X, whatever the case may be, it's where I get almost everything. I realize that that's a good portion of you that do that, and there are a good portion of you that do not, but yeah, $1 a year I would handle. And I was looking at the numbers on that. There are like 370 active users on Twitter/X. So if you figure if you charged them $1 and 60% stuck around, you're still looking at north of $200 million in revenue per year, which is kind of what Elon's trying to do. So I know a lot of people are all up in arms about what Twitter's become. There's one thing that I hate about the new Twitter. One thing and one thing only. The other user stuff hasn't really. I don't care if I get some spam thing in my DMs. I just delete it. Whatever. It doesn't happen 50 times a day. It happens once every 3 weeks. But the fact that I can't DM people without being verified really irritates me. Because that's how I do a lot of guest booking. I'll shoot a guy, a sports writer or beat writer, a little Twitter DM, and that's the best way to get back because their emails aren't always published. So that's just a little inside baseball there. That I hate. As far as like the fact that the whole platform's falling apart and this place is a hellscape and all this stuff that I see on Twitter, I don't believe that to be the case. I think it works just fine. So I would pay the $1, yes.
This is a re-ask of an August question.
Okay.
What if you could have one prior LSU player on this year's team?
Oh, we did do that in August, and I took Kevin Falk then. I would very much change that answer today. Wow, I would very much change that answer. I was talking. Charlie Hanniger heard me do that segment, and he said the answer is forever and always Tyrann Mathieu, because we couldn't do quarterbacks in that one, so you couldn't go for Burrow, and I wouldn't take Burrow on this team because Jaden's playing great, and there are other needs that we have. So I love the idea of Tyrann. I love the idea of Peterson or Claiborne or Prime Stingley. I love the idea of Dorsey. I love the idea of Kevin Minter. Devin White would be the guy. I love the idea of Jamal Adams on this team too. If you're going to give me one player on a prior LSU team on this year's team, I think I'm going to go cornerback. I think that's where you're most susceptible. I think the run defense has a chance to improve. I think I'm going to go corner. I think I'm going to go Morris Claiborne. I've always thought he was the best cover corner. I thought Stingley was on the best trajectory as a freshman, and then we didn't really see him the next 2 years. Peterson was the most gifted physically and was awesome, and I would certainly take him. But for some reason, I just always thought Mo Claiborne was the best cover guy. I'm going to go with Mo Claiborne on this team. I think there's probably a ton of people who think that's a terrible answer, that it should be Dorsey or Peterson or Devin White or one of those guys.
I think you're fine defensive tackle. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
Dorsey makes you better.
Dorsey makes you better, and he was a better pass rusher than any of those guys.
Yeah.
He blew stuff up, and this team needs some disruption, and I would take him in a second. I think if you asked 100 LSU fans, I honestly believe this. If you ask 100 LSU fans, I don't think any of them would say Morris Claiborne. I think that's how
you get at least one or two. I think.
I really don't think so. I think if you say corner, everyone immediately goes to Patrick Peterson, and they're not going to come off of it. And I love Pat Pete. He was awesome. And maybe I've got that Julio Jones touchdown over the middle in the 2010 game in my brain, but for some reason I just like Morris Claiborne. I don't know.
All right,
certainly Pat Pete's NFL career has been way better.
Yeah. All right, last one here. What if LSU fans boo Army?
I'm with Rab. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate wrote, I hope that the LSU fans don't boo Army. Because there's a respect factor there, and those guys are doing something that we all desperately need and certainly all hopefully appreciate. However, I do think that the Army players have such perspective on what they're going into that I think they would feel awkward if they came out and everybody just clapped. They know they're in a competition. They know it's not real life. It's a football game. I think they'd like a Saturday night in Death Valley, quite frankly. I think they'd like to feel like Auburn would feel if they came in here. And so I'm certainly not going to boo. I don't boo Auburn when they come out. But I don't think that it's some flagrant lack of respect for Auburn if you did. I think it would be treating them like everybody else that comes in here for a Saturday night. And the Army players all know, you know what? We play against somebody every week, and we're ready to defend them right when this thing's over. So I appreciate Rab's sentiment, and I'm going to follow his wishes. But I think that the Army players probably don't really give a rip, if I had to guess. Now here's the question. If we go back to the first one, I'll have to ask my wife at the end of it. I'm going to text her. If I got a free throw for $1 million or 6 months in jail, would she want me to shoot it? That's a better question than asking me.
I think no.
I mean, $1 million helps. It really does. Tax free, just a check for $1 million.
The 6 months of you not working though.
Yeah, potentially. We're going to have to get by that. It's only 6 months. Like, she's about to take 6 months off not working. Now, eventually she's not pregnant, but we're going to attempt one day down the road to have a baby, and she won't work for a few months. So it's kind of part of life. I'd just be in jail, and she'd be nursing a child. So, not the same. I'll get an answer from her. Let's go Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. If you shot a free throw, make for $1 million, miss 6 months in jail, would you take the shot? I'm sure because most people aren't actually facing the 6 months in jail, they'll say yes, but I'm curious what the answers will be when we get to the bottom of that. Let's close out hour number 1 when we come back. Some SEC basketball picks by the media. Where's LSU? And thoughts on a former Tiger who's doing some awesome stuff. That's all next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Jags and Saints, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN. Use that promo code /1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues now withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone knows a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet. The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
For
The Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza, downtown Baton Rouge. Matt Humans, Dwayne Colucci, and Paul Nolan among our guests, getting you ready for a football weekend. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, so we just did What If Wednesday, and I did the What If you could get one free throw, $1 million or 6 months jail time, make or miss. And I said the better question would be, would my wife want me to shoot? I said it's probably about a 35% shot. I'm probably not going to make it, but I'm going to shoot it. I texted my wife and gave her the proposition. She immediately texted back. I said, do you want me to shoot it? She says, yes. So I responded, 2 years of jail time. Do you want me to shoot it? She said, yes. So, and then she said, didn't you play basketball? I said, well, so we stopped the conversation there because I had to get back on the air. I think she's under the impression this is like a layup, and I'm definitely going to make it because I played high school basketball. Let me check my notes here. 17 years ago. That's probably not a great proposition, but I would like the opportunity because I'm putting that shot up. Speaking of shots and free throws, the SEC media, what was it? Media had their vote at the SEC tip-off media day, and they picked Tennessee to win the Southeastern Conference, Texas A&M third, Arkansas fourth, and Arkansas third, Kentucky fourth. LSU picked 13th by the coaches preseason entering the 2023-24 season. SEC Player of the Year, I was surprised to see this name pop up for SEC preseason Player of the Year. Now, I'll be very honest. I haven't been plugged into SEC basketball since March of last year, so I couldn't rattle off 4 or 5 players on every team like I'll be able to in 3 months. But I saw the name. I was very familiar with who it was, very familiar with his game, very familiar with his situation in the league. I was surprised to see him voted the SEC's preseason Player of the Year. And then I thought about it, and I looked at the preseason All-SEC first team, and I went, okay, that makes sense. I don't know that he'll win it. You've got some really talented freshmen that obviously could break through and do it. But Wade Taylor IV from Texas A&M, their point guard, who had a great year last year, no doubt about it, and they're going to be a really good team again this year, was voted the SEC's preseason Player of the Year. Joining him on the first team, a couple of returners. You got Trevon Brazile, who missed all of last year with an injury for Arkansas. You got Santiago Vescovi for his 413th season at the University of Tennessee. Janai Broome, Auburn's big man. Grant Nelson, a senior transfer over at Alabama. Justin Edwards, big-time 6'8 freshman that brought in for Kentucky. Keep in mind, this hadn't happened in like 5 years. It used to happen all the time. It happened again this year, but it's been a while. Kentucky had 5 signees in the top 25 players in the country, and I believe 3 of the top 7 players in the country signed with Kentucky. So they're going to be really young and really talented again. Names that you'll probably be familiar with: Zakai Ziegler from Tennessee's on the second team. Devo Davis has been at Arkansas for 100 years as well. Mark Sears, the point guard at Alabama, on that list too. No LSU players on the first or second team preseason, and LSU picked 13th by the coaches. So not totally surprising. We don't know what the future holds for Jalen Cook. If you saw my Twitter earlier today, speaking of getting all your news from Twitter, there have been some instances that have started to surface in college basketball of guys not being ruled eligible. Today, Aziz Bandago and Jameel Reynolds had their second-time transfer waivers denied by the NBA. They're both at Cincinnati. I don't care who Aziz Bandago is or Jameel Reynolds is. Never heard of them. Never will hear from them again. I don't care. But I know that they're trying to transfer for a second time, and the NCAA is just not having it. They're just not having it. They finally got – so many people complained about the Tez Walker thing at North Carolina in football that he was deemed eligible. The first transfer was a little different there because the school dropped football for COVID, and he was able to transfer out without playing a game. So it eventually wound back around, and they did it. But for guys that are just looking for their second transfer, for Brandon Murray, who's, you remember from here at LSU, went to Georgetown, has transferred to Ole Miss. He hasn't been deemed eligible. Adam Miller came down to LSU from Illinois. He's now transferred over to Arizona State. He hasn't been deemed eligible. This Jalen Cook deal, I just don't have a very good feeling about it. I don't have the information. Every player submits for that waiver and has different reasons why they should be granted a waiver, and I have no idea what is on Jalen Cook's waiver. I don't know what kind of hardship they're claiming, what his situation is, what his family situation. I don't know any of that stuff. But it just doesn't sound good based on what's going on around the country that Jalen Cook will be in there. If he can't play, that hurts them in terms of their ball handling and their point guard play. Carlos Stewart's probably not a true point guard. He would probably assume point guard duties. You'd need Jordan Wright to help handle the ball as well. Not to get into too deep into basketball here, but it just doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies that you're seeing some basketball players have their waivers denied as we creep closer to the opening basketball weekend, which is about 2 weeks away. So we'll talk a little bit more basketball as that season does approach. I want to mention a former Tiger who's just dealing at the moment, and that, of course, is Aaron Nola. He's made 3 postseason starts for the Phillies this year. He's thrown 18 2/3 innings in those 3 starts. He's struck out 19, has not walked a single batter, and his ERA is under 1 at .96. He's given up 1 run in 18 2/3 innings pitched. That's awesome for the Phillies as they chase the World Series, which they were in last year and have a chance to win this year. That's fantastic for them and great for Aaron. It's better for Aaron that he's about to be a free agent, and he will be commanding massive sums of money based on his track record, his performance in this postseason, his durability, and the fluidity with which he pitches, the ease of his motion and delivery. He's going to be a very, very coveted free agent pitcher. We'll see if the Phillies can pony up some cash, but I know of one team that has a very, very rich owner on the north side of Chicago that needs some more pitching help. That's where I would like him to go. Okay. We'll talk about that in the winter, I guess. But props to Aaron. The Phillies are absolutely rolling. They're mashing homers all over the place. Their pitching's been great with Wheeler and Nola, and Arizona just looks completely overmatched out there. We'll see what goes on in the Rangers-Astros series, as we'll talk about that a little bit later with Max Scherzer going to the mound. We'll talk about that and take it or leave it. But Aaron is dealing up there in Philly, so that's good news for all the city of brotherly love. That's it for hour number 1 here of this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Led things off talking about LSU and what freshmen can get involved this weekend, what younger players can get involved as I predict the game gets out of hand against Army. That's what we talked about at the first segment. If you'd like my thoughts on that, Hunt on LSU on YouTube for your video, and for audio, of course, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Anywhere you find your audio, you can find our stuff. JD Picell from On3 Sports. We talk Shane Beamer kicking stuff and breaking feet. Talk Dabo Swinney. Talk Jimbo Fisher. Plus what's going on this weekend in college football. JD is always great. It was a What If Wednesday. My wife wants me to shoot a basketball and send me to jail for 6 months. That came up. In hour 2, we're locked and loaded. We've got Andre Evans decommitting from LSU, flipping to Georgia. What's going on the recruiting front. SEC football power rankings to get to, as well as Adam Stites from the USA Today Network. Part of the Jaguars Wire coverage. He'll be with us after SportsCenter talking Saints and Jags. So come with us after the top of the hour break. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here. Now, for life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colts rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson will undergo season-ending surgery on his injured throwing shoulder. Gardner Minshew starts the remainder of the season. Browns QB Deshaun Watson says there's no timeline for his return from a rotator cuff strain. He's missed the last 2 games with the injury. Cowboys edge rusher Micah Parsons fed up with what he feels is the media's hate for the team, and quarterback Dak Prescott on The Edge with Micah Parsons' podcast. He called out Dallas's critics, said they should bring that same energy for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles when they struggle. Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
Here's why we don't give Jalen Hurts the smoke. His team was just in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
They were just in the Super Bowl. It was his second full season as a starter. Dak Prescott ain't sniffed that level of the playoffs. Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback. That's why we're more apt to dismiss when he has terrible games.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell agreed to a 3-year extension through March of 2027. Tonight, Game 3, ALCS, Astros-Rangers, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio. Texas up 2-0. It's Max Scherzer and Christian Javier.
Home, auto, prized sports memorabilia. Whatever you need to protect, Geico can help get you covered. And with the award-winning Geico mobile app, you can get 24/7 claim support and on-the-go policy access. It's easy to Geico. Go to geico.com today.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Half the work week in the rearview mirror. We're working towards the weekend. It's a little bit of an early weekend down here in South Louisiana as the Saints and Jags will kick things off Thursday night from the Dome down in NOLA. Adam Stites covers the Jaguars Wide, part of the USA Today network, and he joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Adam, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing very well. How much London time did you do?
I stayed back. I'm on my way to New Orleans right now, but I did not head over to UK.
So the Jags were there for like 2 weeks. They're the most frequent visitors to London. First, what does the organization and maybe even the fan base think about the fact that the Jags spend so much time over there?
I think the owner, Shad Khan, loves it. It's really been his project for a decade, and it sounds like he's ready to re-up and continue to do it. So he's a big fan. The executives kind of love it. I don't think the coaches love it as much, and the fans certainly don't love it. They lose a home game every year. It's pretty onerous on the players to make that trip every year, but the way that the organization at the executive level view it is this is probably the 31st or 30th most popular team at best, and so any chance to market it on a global level is one that they're going to take.
So it's more of a marketing play as opposed to a cash grab. I mean, I don't know how the finances of all that work at all, but I mean, is that kind of the thought that we can, rope some more people in internationally that may be better than just dipping into Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think that's the idea. When they first did it, they got some exclusive marketing rights over in England, and they try to kind of see it as a way to push branding of a team that's pretty unknown on a scale outside of football fans, really. So that was the idea, and I don't think it's a project that they saw as a one-off. I think it's something they see as a long-term effort to build a brand.
Let's talk about these Jaguars, 4-2 as they head into this short week with New Orleans. It was a team that I feel like many thought had a real good chance to win the AFC South, still do. But how would you assess things kind of in totality as we're a month and change into the season?
I think the team is starting to resemble the team that many expected. It was a little shakier out the gates than most thought it would be. The offense, I think everybody really felt like, this was a top 10 offense last year. It brings everybody back. It adds Calvin Ridley to the mix. There's no reason why this shouldn't be maybe top 5 offense this year, and that really hasn't been the case. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot at times. They haven't been very good in the red zone. There's always been something wrong with this offense. But what's been surprising is how good the defense has been, and that's really made up for it. So as the offense started to find its footing in recent weeks, I think the optimism is back, and people are back to feeling like, okay, this is a real team here.
This is the definition of bearing the lead here. But Trevor Lawrence, his health, what do you know at this point as we approach 24 hours to kick off?
I think it's still up in the air, and I don't think this is the case where the Jaguars are pulling some gamesmanship and pretending like he may or may not. I think they genuinely don't know. Everybody from Trevor to the coaching staff, I think we're going to test it out today, see how he feels tomorrow, and make a decision. I think the sense in the locker room yesterday was this is a guy who plays three things. He has had injuries in the past, and he's never missed a game in the NFL. This might be the toughest one he's faced so far, but his teammates really felt like he was going to go. Backup quarterback C.J. Beathard said, "I've been here 2.5 years, and I've never really had a chance to play because this guy plays." So I think he'll play. So I think the sense is, I would say 75-80% chance that he's going tomorrow.
What would the offense look like if Trevor Lawrence was compromised a little bit? How much does he use mobility and be susceptible to hits when he is healthy?
Yeah, I think that's a real concern. The offensive line has not been very good. He's a very quick quarterback. The ball gets out of his hands very, very quickly. So I think you'd see more of the same there. But yeah, he's a very mobile quarterback, and they like to roll him out of the pocket. They found a lot of success with that last week against the Colts. I think it would be a real hindrance to the offense if he couldn't go as well as he usually can. But I think what you probably see is a lot of screen passes, a lot of quick passing, and just try to keep that Saints defensive line at bay.
What are the weapons that if C.J. Beathard were to be out there, or if Trevor Lawrence is compromised and needs to get the ball out more quickly, who are the one or two guys that you would point to on this roster that have got to make plays happen for Jacksonville?
I would say Evan Ingram has been playing very, very well this year, and you know, a tight end is always a backup or a young quarterback's best friend. They're just really very available. He's big target. He runs wild after the catch, so he's a guy for sure. And then Christian Kirk out of the slot, I think they're going to really need to have him find room in the middle of the field, especially against a linebacking core in New Orleans that hasn't been great outside of DeMario Davis, and even he seems like he's hurt. So, I would look at those two guys in particular across the middle of the field.
As far as the Jacksonville defense goes, I'm not even going to worry about asking about strengths of this defense because everything's a strength when you're playing against New Orleans offense these days. But if there's a concern on the Jaguars defense one place or another, where might it be?
Well, they have a couple very good corners in Tyson Campbell and Darius Williams, but Tyson Campbell pulled up with a hamstring last week, and so they're throwing in Monteric Brown in the starting lineup this week. He was a 7th-round pick last year, got a little bit of playtime last year, and had only one snap through the first 5 weeks of this season before he got thrown in last week in replacement. So how ready is he to actually step up and defend, whether it's Olave or Michael Thomas, whoever he's lined up against? We're going to find out tomorrow, but that would be the biggest concern is how ready Monteric Brown is for this role.
Adam, we really appreciate your time. Safe travels to New Orleans.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
He is Adam Stites, covers the Jacksonville Jaguars for the USA Today Network. The Jaguars Wire is where you can find his work. And look, this is a Jacksonville team that has dealt with some weird schedule stuff. You spend 2 weeks in London, you come back, play a game, then you travel on a short week for a Thursday night game. It's going to be a team that's probably a little bit compromised. They'd be very compromised if Trevor Lawrence is not able to go, but it kind of sounds like he is able to go. We just got word from Saints media availability, Dennis Allen saying that DeMario Davis is going to be a game-time decision for the Saints. So you look at that, and you would really need him in the middle of your defense. You start to look at Bond, and you start to look at Werner, and then I don't know. You don't have anybody on that defense that is a heart and soul at that level like DeMario Davis is. And at this point, the Saints are asking their defense to basically hold teams to 2 touchdowns. Like, if you allow a 3rd touchdown, we're toast. And just not having DeMario would just be a really back-breaking blow to this Saints unit. But Dome should be alive. Dome should be rocking. It is a big spot for the Saints, who need every win they can possibly grab. And again, Jacksonville's got a banged-up starting quarterback and have been running a crazy travel schedule for the last 3 weeks. So we'll see if the Black and Gold can get it done. Certainly a bunch more tomorrow on our show. We'll chat with Luke Johnson from down in New Orleans as he gets ready to cover the game. And we'll give you our pick on the Saints and Jaguars tomorrow as we get ready for a game day down here in South Louisiana on a Thursday, which is a cool thing. I'm going to enjoy that. I like when the baseball team here at LSU plays on Thursdays. I think that shortens the week a little bit. And I love when the Saints are going to play on Thursday, although it's probably not beneficial to anyone in the Saints organization to play that early game. It makes things more interesting for us to talk about right here. Speaking of interesting, the Baton Rouge Zydeco are going to take to the ice for their first game when they face off with the Columbus River Dragons Thursday, October the 26th. You can find single game tickets at just $10. You can get them at the RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com or through Ticketmaster. You can register for a chance to win free Zydeco tickets from us right here at 1045 ESPN.com. We'll get our SEC Power Rankings coming up in about 20 minutes from right now. Come back with us. We'll have some sound from Brian Kelly as well as a decommitment from LSU's football team. We'll tell you who that was coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. Started right here in a Baton Rouge shed. And now they're among the most popular outfitters and equipment companies in Major League Baseball. Certainly do a lot of work with the college and high school levels as well. But that's not what makes them a champion of Louisiana. It's great, but we love the fact that they better the state. And that's what LWCC wants in their champions of Louisiana. They're great for tourism. They do the Marucci World Series every summer. They bring top talent into our state to work in their baseball performance lab. They also keep top talent here in our state, which is a problem for us here in Louisiana. LWCC, certainly a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, we'd love to tell their story courtesy of LWCC. Go to lwcc.com/champions. You can look at all the great champions we've told you about over the last year and a half, and you can nominate a champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the
Voisin, inviting you to join me, along with the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy, for Louisiana Prep Weekly. We're talking Dunham Tigers football with special guest defensive coordinator Caleb Leindecker. Louisiana Prep Weekly, Wednesday night at 6, live from Walk-Ons in Town Center on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Some disappointing news for the LSU football program today. Andre Evans, 4-star cornerback from Tennessee, has flipped his commitment from LSU to Georgia. Evans, thought of as a top 15 cornerback in the country, has been committed to LSU, but the word was that he had made a midweek visit over to Athens and that they were going to look at him hard, and that ended up being the case as he has made his pledge to the Georgia Bulldogs. Wasn't even like a decommitment and then we'll come back in a couple of days. It was just straight up Yeah, I'm going to go to Georgia instead. So he's 6'1", 185 pounds, top 152 player in the 247 composite, number 2 player in the state of Tennessee. We know that LSU is in need of young defensive backs. You're giving Ashton Stamps and LaTerrence Welch a lot of run here. We'll see what Javian Toviano becomes. Ryan Yates has gotten some playing time at safety for this team, but you need some youth at defensive back. You can't keep plugging those holes with transfer portal guys, and Andre Evans was one of the better players in this class and certainly a corner that you'd like to have on board, but sounds like he is headed to Athens, so that's a bummer for Brian Kelly and his staff, and a pickup for Kirby Smart. Congratulations to Dean Lurkey. Dean's our Week 7 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. Wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 8 by noon on Thursday. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. The Saints offense stinks. We have covered this pretty closely. It's been bad all year. You masked it with some good defense and some wins, and then some great defense against Indianapolis against a bad team. But the sample size now is large enough to where you can look at this and say, man, this is a really, really poorly functioning offense. And it's starting to frustrate Derek Carr a good bit. As you would imagine, it's a guy that's come to a new place for a fresh start, and you're a month and a half into the season, and you just can't get out of neutral at all. And Carr met with the media on Monday and said, look, things are not going to be good until we figure it out.
Until we get on the same page, there's going to be sucky feelings. And so, if it takes extra time studying, if it takes extra time, with your coach, whatever it takes to make sure that, when those situations come up, we can just do the right things. We have the talent to do the right things, but we have to do the right things, even if the look may change this much, to finish those drives.
And that's the thing. Like, they are moving the ball a little bit. They're not doing anything when they get into scoring opportunities. And we've documented the red zone disaster that was the game in Houston. They backed up on the red zone in totality, which is just atrocious, and a way that you'll lose every single week if you play like that. And there's been, kind of an ongoing talking point that, Derek Carr wasn't very good in the red zone in Oakland and Las Vegas. So why would you expect him to be very good here? And the hope is that he would get into a new situation, a new environment, and thrive a little bit. And they have it. And Carr, asked if the red zone was the main issue in fixing the offense.
For us, I think that we can't just only focus on that. We have to continue to build on what we're doing, because there was a few missed opportunities yesterday because of little detailed things that could have been bigger plays. But for sure, if we fix those things down there, we went 3 for 3 at the New England week and we won the game, And so, for us, we feel as an offense, as players, that if we can do better there, that we can help the team win.
That's a perfectly acceptable quote from Derek Carr to say we were 3 for 3 New England week, we won the game. And that's fine for him to say, because as I've told you many times, I'm not married to anything that's said in a press conference. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's being nice to the opponent. Sometimes it's protecting a teammate or a coach, or like all that stuff can happen in a press conference. So I'm fine with him saying that it's they went 3 for 3 in New England. You're just not going to hear me reference the New England game ever on the positive, because I think they're that bad. You're going to need to do something against somebody better than New England for me to take that as some sort of talking point moving forward. And so they've got an opportunity to do that on Thursday, but they've got to get on the same page. We saw Derek Carr and Pete Carmichael go back and forth, and Pete Carmichael's been talked about a lot over the last 3-4 weeks, as you might expect. And Derek Carr was talked about the outburst and the emotion that was displayed between he and Pete.
I apologized to Pete actually on the airplane, because I was talking to Pete, but I wasn't talking about Pete. Pete and I know exactly what I was talking about and why. And when the game's on the line, that's when you have to be on every detail of your assignment. And I was a little upset at some of those things, and so it had nothing to do with Pete. He just happened to be the one that walked up when I was a little angry.
And this is a theme that we're starting to sense coming out of these press conferences. And so that answer I do put a lot of weight in, because there's a lot of truthful in that. You can tell, because he's shying away from saying what the actual issue is. But it goes back to the whispers that you're hearing, kind of the indirect comments that you're hearing from Saints players, like somebody's got to be on the same page. Somebody's got to have this communicated and figured out. Somebody's got to handle their assignments. And quite frankly, you just don't have a lot of patience for that a month and a half into an NFL season. You're pros. You got to know where to be. And more often than not, you got to do it. Like, if you're having trouble blocking Aaron Donald, like, you know what? That can happen, okay? If Mahomes lights you up on third downs, man, I'd like to be better than that, but he's pretty good. If you don't know where to be a month and a half into this thing, you got massive problems. And so I don't know who it is. I don't know what they're talking about. I just know it's a bad, bad deal. And the bad news from that perspective is you play the game on Sunday, you lose, you hit the showers, you take the quick flight back home to New Orleans, and you show up on work for Monday and you realize you're playing a football game in 3 days. Like, it's turn around quick. So the question is, do you have time to fix some of this stuff on a short week?
I think on a short week it's exciting because you don't have any time to dwell on anything else except football. You don't have time to make any calls or do anything else besides dive into the plays. And so I think in a compressed week, sometimes it's a blessing, that you don't get time to dwell and harp over things, that you just have to turn around and get ready to go for the next one. And so for our guys, I'm excited to see how we came, how guys were coming in today, how we're going to come in tomorrow and get to work. And knowing the guys in this building, I think it'll be a positive response.
Well, Jacksonville's defense is solid. I'm not going to speak too much into the Colts game, but they held Buffalo in London 20 points. They held the Falcons, who were, I almost said rudderless at quarterback, and then realized that their quarterback was Ritter. They're not good on offense. They held them to 7 points. C.J. Stroud had his way with Jacksonville. They scored 37 in that one, but they did a good job against Mahomes and the Chiefs. Held them to 17. Did a good job in the opener against the Colts. So this is a pretty good defense coming in to New Orleans, and it's a short week, and things are very, very clearly based on the results in the game and the reactions in the press conference, not all that peachy in Saints offense world. They're just not. So this is an opportunity to get it fixed, but do you have any confidence that that's going to be the case? I personally don't. The sample size is too large. I was willing to let Derek Carr kind of progress in this offense. I was willing to let him come back from an injury. The Houston game, I can't get out of my brain because you were trying to build on a solid effort in New England and you just fell flat. And to me, that just X's out anything that you did in New England and just makes me focus on the rest of the schedule, which is a putrid offensive effort across the board. So we've talked about it now for 3 days. It is what it is. We'll talk about it again tomorrow when we preview the game. But it's time for the Saints offense to do now because there's not really anything for us to point to. You got a banged up offensive line, which doesn't help. Your quarterback's been hurt. That doesn't help. You've had key offensive players get suspensions and whatnot. That doesn't help. But as we keep hearing, we've got the talent. We got the talent. We got the talent. Well, then go score some points. That's what having the talent should equate to. Go score some points. And until they do that, we'll just kind of sit here and assume that they won't. Saints and Jags coming up on Thursday Night Football this week. The first ever Baton Rouge Kids on the Catwalk Dreams Come True fashion show coming up October the 26th at the Country Club of Louisiana. Dreams kids are going to be walking the catwalk with local dignitaries as their escorts, including Flynn Foster and Richard Condon of our Guarantee family. Admission includes dinner and an open bar. There are also going to be live and silent auctions featuring celebrity auctioneer T-Bob Hebert. You know him very well. Purchase your tickets for the Dream Come True fashion show at dctofla.com, dctofla.com. All right, it's that time of the week. Let's get some SEC football power rankings. That is next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric. Protect yourself from power outages. Power outages are just not fun. My wife despises power outages. Just throws her for a loop. You can prevent them. Generac generators from Boudreaux's Electric. They customize it to your home. You've got a big square footage, they get you a big generator. Got smaller square footage, they can get you a smaller generator. And maybe it just depends on what you want to do. If you want to power the entire house and that power goes out, they can make that work for you. If you just want to power a couple things here and there, keep the AC on, let's make sure the fridge and freezer are working, Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that as well. And every Generac generator that you purchase from Boudreaux's Electric gets a 10-year warranty for free. for free. Got to love that. So call Neil and Melissa Boudreaux, same number they've had for 40 years, 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Countryside, I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online.
This Sunday, we bring you 3 different NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff Lions at Ravens. Then immediately following that, we have the Chargers and Chiefs, and then our nightcap, the Miami Dolphins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, time for some SEC football power rankings. Do it every single Wednesday. Last week, a lot of the same, but the big faller was Kentucky, who fell 4 spots. Basically, everybody else stayed right where they were or moved 1 spot. Ole Miss moved up a couple spots, but Kentucky, the big mover. This week, we got 1 mover of more than 2 spots. And we got 9 of the 14 teams staying in their same spots. So kind of starting to find our level here with the SEC football power rankings. It starts at the top with Georgia. They are 7-0, 4-0 in league play. Listen to this. Georgia's won 24 games in a row. They've won 40 out of 41 games. They have not lost a regular season SEC game since November the 7th of 2020. That's back when we had like 15,000 people in the stadium. That is a remarkable run that Kirby Smart and his team are on. 24 in a row, 40 of 41 for the Georgia Bulldogs. They are the top of the food chain. Bama still at 2, 6-1, 4-0. Yeah, it was ugly. They beat South Florida by 14, beat A&M by 6, beat Arkansas by 3, and that's what they did most recently. But they are winning. Like, Milroe's stats against Arkansas are not going to blow anybody away. He was 10 of 21 throwing. That's under 50% completion. However, he completed those 10 passes for 238 yards, so 23.8 yards per completion. That's really all Bama has to hang its hat on offensively, is they can hit that deep ball. They did it a couple times against Arkansas, and it was enough to get a 3-point win. It's not what we're used to from Bama, but it's effective. I still have Ole Miss at 3. They are coming off the bye week, and they've got the Hugh Freeze Bowl coming up. That's at Auburn. Basically, Ole Miss gets this spot at 3 because their defense has been decent in every game except LSU. Is their offense sensational? No. Is it good? It's pretty good. Is their defense sensational? No. Is it pretty good? Yeah, it's pretty good. LSU just torched them. They were fine against Alabama, fine against Georgia Tech and Tulane. They're fine. And they beat LSU, which helps. Doesn't decide everything, but it helps. I've got LSU at the number 4 slot. The reason, like I said, LSU's behind Ole Miss is because the defense has been atrocious in 4 games. They were bad against Florida State. They were bad against Arkansas. They were bad against Ole Miss, and they were bad against Missouri. When you're that bad that many times, I don't just take the 18 points that Auburn scored and go, I think they're fixing it. But that offense is damn good. I wish that LSU would have gotten Ole Miss inside Tiger Stadium, but that's not the way it breaks this year. So got Ole Miss at 3 and LSU at 4. I finally have started to drink a little bit of the – well, I shouldn't – that's a pun there. Drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid on Missouri. I've got them up to number 5. That's up 2 spots and actually jumped them ahead of Tennessee, obviously, as they come in at number 5. They scored 38 points at Kentucky, which is a solid effort. Brady Cook is 3rd in the SEC in passing yards. He's got 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Luther Burden's got 115 yards per game receiving. And Missouri's number 6 in the SEC in total defense. Now, some of that is skewed by the teams they've played. Outside of LSU, the offenses have been terrible. But I was pretty impressed with what I saw from Missouri and Columbia against LSU. I think they're pretty good. I jumped Tennessee with them up to the number 5 spot here with Missouri. I got Tennessee at 6, which is where they were last year. Vols are 5-1, 2-1 in league play. They can't pass. If you were listening an hour ago when I talked to JD Picell, I said it would probably surprise a lot of people to know that Tennessee is 11th in the SEC in pass offense. They're only in front of Arkansas, Kentucky, and Auburn in terms of throwing the football. Joe Milton against South Carolina and A&M over the last 2 games is completing 59% of his throws for 169 yards per game. He's thrown 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. That's just poor, inefficient passing. And it tells me that identity that Tennessee was playing with for 2 years, where they were moving fast and scoring a bunch of points and lighting up the scoreboard, had a lot to do with Hendon Hooker. I still think that Josh Heupel is a good coach. I think that Hendon Hooker was exceptional, and Joe Milton's just not. However, Joe Milton's defenses were terrible. This one's not. They're 4th in the SEC in total defense. They're 3rd in the SEC in sacks. They're 3rd in the SEC in scoring defense. They're actually pretty good on defense, especially up front. And they gave A&M a lot of problems in that game on Saturday. So I like Tennessee's defense more than I thought. I don't like their offense as much as I thought. I've got them at 6. The big fallers of the week are the Aggies. Yes, you have every right to laugh at me for having them at number 4 last week. Every single right. They were just coming off a tough loss to Alabama, and I thought that they still had the pieces to be pretty good. It's evident right now that it's just not working. And you can say, well, what took you so long? And I would just have to throw my hands up and go, sorry, I was wrong. I can't go back retroactively and determine what I should have felt about Texas A&M. It just is what it is. They're 4-3 and 2-2. Their second half offensive outputs the last 3 weeks. At Tennessee, they scored 3 points. Against Alabama at home, they scored 3 points. And then against Arkansas, if you take away a punt return and a pick 6, they scored 3 points. That is 3 points in the second half of each of their last 3 SEC games. That's atrocious coaching, atrocious play calling, atrocious execution, and atrocious offense. Aniyah Smith, who I have talked about in this spot most of the year because of how explosive we've seen him be in his A&M career, has 5 total catches in the last 2 weeks against Alabama and Tennessee. He has not scored a touchdown this season. They're just not good on offense. They are wasting a great defense. They've got their issues on the back end, and Miami exposed them, and Milroe hit a couple of deep shots. But that front is disgusting, and their offense just can't pick them up. So I've got A&M back at number 7. At number 8, I've got Kentucky. They've been atrocious the last 2 weeks. They've given up 89 points the last 2 weeks against Georgia, who scored 51, and Missouri, who scored 38. And their pass offense is bad. They're 13th in the league in passing offense. You got Ray Davis. You don't have anything else on offense. Can't get Berry and Brown going. Leary hasn't been good. I've got Kentucky at number 8. I do have Florida at number 9. Graham Mertz somehow threw for 423 yards. I'm going to choose to believe that Graham Mertz threw for 423 yards, not because Florida's offense found some sort of magic potion, but because South Carolina stinks. They can't stop anybody on defense at all. What's still left on the schedule for Florida? Well, funny you should ask. This is not the whole thing, but it's a good chunk of it. They got Georgia away from home in Jacksonville. They're at LSU, they're at Missouri, and they play Florida State in the Swamp. That is quite daunting the rest of the way. They have a little bit there's a couple other games, but that's the meat of it, and that's going to be very difficult for Billy Napier's squad. At number 10, I've got the Arkansas Razorbacks. Look, they are 2-5 and 0-4. But I've got 4 teams worse than them because at least Arkansas is hanging around. Arkansas goes to LSU, loses by a field goal. Goes to Bama, loses by 1 score. Goes to Ole Miss, loses by a field goal. They've lost those 3 games by a total of 13 points. And I think LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss are pretty good. The Hogs are hanging around. They're just not beating anybody. But I still think they've got some fight. They've got a good quarterback. Are they good? No. Are they competing? Yes. South Carolina's not good. And that's why I bumped them back a spot to number 11. They're 1-3 in the league, 2-4 overall. They've got the same number of broken feet on their coaching staff as they do SEC wins, which is not great. Outside of one good half, the first half against Georgia, South Carolina has been awful. They were bad against North Carolina. They were bad in their league games. They've been bad outside of one good half where they went to Athens in the rain and showed up and had a lead on Georgia. Outside of that, they've been terrible. I got them at 11. Auburn's 12. That's where I had them last week. They're 0-3 in the league, 3-3 overall. I mean, y'all watched it on Saturday. It's ugly. They can't throw the football. You can't score 18 points on this LSU defense. That's unacceptable. And that's what Auburn did. So, look, Hugh's going to go recruit. He's going to go get a new quarterback. He's going to bring in better skill position players on the offense, and they'll get better, but they're not good right now, and that offense is tough to watch. So I've got them at 12. Mississippi State's at 13. They're 0-3 in the league as well, 3-3 overall. I do have good news for Zach Arnett and Mississippi State. Later on in this season, you're going to play Southern Miss. That's a November the 10th game, and they got beat 55-3 last night in Mobile. So that's great news for Zach Arnett and State. I think you can get in the win column in that one against a Southern Miss team that couldn't stay within 50 of South Alabama. I don't have any good news of that same ilk for Vanderbilt. Vandy's 0-4 in the league, 2-6 overall, and they're going to go 2-10. So good news, State. Southern Miss is coming up. Vandy, not going to go great. My power rankings, Georgia, Bama, and Ole Miss stay at 1, 2, and 3. LSU moves up to number 4. Missouri moves up a couple places to number 5. Tennessee holds steady at number 6. A&M tumbles to 7. At number 8, we've got Kentucky at 9. Florida, both of those were in the same place last week. Arkansas is 10. South Carolina's 11. I switched those two. I think Arkansas is better than South Carolina, even the record would not show it. And then the bottom 3 have been the same now for 3 full weeks. Auburn at 12, Mississippi State at 13, and the Vanderbilt Commodores coming up at number 14. Those are your SEC power rankings. They are correct and not to be disputed in any way, shape, or form moving forward. Until next week when we'll do them. Let's come back and play some Take It or Leave It. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I made people happy today. See this box? It's empty. That's why I can wave it around. But it was full of 12 Jersey Mike sandwiches, about 2 hours and 40 minutes ago until those were devoured by members of our staff. I had the club, the classic Italian was in there as well. I'm telling you, like the fact that that people have been telling me about the cold subs and how they're really good, comparatively speaking with the hot sub, that's correct. The cold subs were fantastic. I love the cheesesteaks. I love the hot subs. But those cold ones are awesome, and that's what we enjoyed today, courtesy of the folks at Jersey Mike's. Stop by and see our friends on Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center, and jump in and say, hey, heard you on the Hunt Palmer Show. If it's a catering order, get you 20% off. Download that Jersey Mike's app. Remember, you can find them on DoorDash as well. They always appreciate all your business. That way, if you got a tailgate party that you're going to for high school football or to watch LSU this weekend, make it Jersey Mike's.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Russ Mitchell joins us to preview the weekend ahead in the SEC. We'll take a closer look at Saints Jags. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Revisiting our conversation from What If Wednesday about an hour and 15 minutes ago, the question was, what if you had one free throw, make it for $1 million, miss it, you get 6 months in jail? Would you take the shot? We put it up in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll quest of the day. And as I suspected, 58% said that they would take the shot. Easy when jail's not staring you in the face to say, yeah, I'll take the shot. But you actually got a different mindset if it's actually the situation. Of course, had one response to the Twitter poll. Shane O'Callahan said, $1 million or 3 hots in a cot for 6 months? Let's go. So probably a little bit less enjoyable than that. Just my guess. I've never spent 6 months in jail, but probably. But anyway, I'm taking the shot because I got to try for the $1 million. My next paycheck I'm not going to be for $1 million. So this is a better opportunity for me to get to $1 million. I'm taking the shot. Either way, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The McNeese men's basketball Twitter account tweeted a photo of their 2023-2024 schedule. I'll pull it up here for those watching on YouTube. And it's titled Willie the Kid and the Bayou Bandits. It's an interesting way to go about things. However, their schedule looks a little bit light this year. They're playing the likes of the College of Biblical Studies and the Mississippi University for Women, which has a men's basketball team.
What?
They're a Division III school. Willie the Kid, take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. Look, I appreciate very much Will Wade's effort here in Baton Rouge. That was a ton of fun and may have helped me get this show, quite frankly, because I was out of radio completely and started doing Hoops with Hunt because I thought people would care about basketball. But Willie the Kid is bad. Bayou Bandits is bad. And that schedule, as you would expect from a Southland team. But I cannot believe the Mississippi University for Women has a men's basketball.
It's a co-ed school.
Well, they need to rename it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they stuck with that name, but
the College of Biblical Studies?
Yes.
I'm just guessing they don't have a lot of quickness on the perimeter. I'm guessing the College of Biblical Studies is not going to be swatting shots above the rim. Just a guess. I have not seen them play. I hadn't scouted them this year. But we know how Will goes and does the analytics with the scheduling, and he makes sure that he plays teams that help the net ranking. I can't imagine College of Biblical Studies is going to help very much unless you're just looking at the Old Testament, which is a great thing to do, but it just doesn't translate much to the hardwood.
Next one here. Browns QB Deshaun Watson said he can't put a timeline on his return after missing the last 2 games, and reports are that his shoulder is structurally sound. Watson fleeced the Browns. Take it or leave it.
It feels like it. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He's not playing very well, hasn't played very well, and their defense is hell on wheels. It's awesome. It'd really be nice if they had some quarterback play that was good. But since my team, the Bengals, who I've been a diehard fan of for years, 3 of them, I'm glad that he's not playing.
All right, Texas A&M's Wade Taylor was named preseason SEC Player of the Year. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think in terms of returning production, he's probably the best. I wouldn't lean Santiago Vescovi there. I mean, certainly Devo Davis is not a Player of the Year type guy. You've lost Oscar Tshiebwe, who's kind of staked some claim to that award over the last couple of years. And you look at the freshman at Kentucky, and that could be an issue. But I think Wade Taylor probably deserves that preseason recognition based on the way he played last year. He's a junior. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Anthony Richardson is going to miss the rest of the season, according to the Colts owner Jim Irsay. The Saints can handle Gardner Minshew. Take it or leave it.
He plays offense, right?
He's a quarterback, Minshew mania.
Yeah, so then yes, I take it. That means that they can handle quarterbacks. They can't handle the defenses. They can't handle any linebackers, no corners, can't handle any safeties, edge rushers, nose tackles, 3 techniques, 5 techniques, nickel guys, slot corners, boundary corners. They can't handle any of those. They can handle quarterbacks, so I think they'll be fine there.
Max Scherzer takes the ball for the first time in over a month. He'll pitch the Rangers to a 3-0 ALCS lead over the Astros. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. He hadn't pitched since I believe it was September the 15th or so. So it's been over a month, and that usually leads to some rust. I think Max Scherzer, to me, has been the best pitcher of this generation. Just watching those 2 guys, I feared Scherzer more than I did Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw is a first ballot Hall of Famer, has been brilliant. And if you wanted to make the argument he's been better than Scherzer, I would certainly listen to it. Having watched those 2, I feared Scherzer far more. I think his career has been brilliant, and I still think he's got some gas in the tank. But taking a month off and then jumping right in there against the Astros, I don't think is a great recipe. So Stros didn't hit very much at home. They're going to have to do it at Globe Life tonight. But I'll take them over Max Scherzer tonight. So give me the Stros.
All right, last one here. Kim Mulkey's Lady Tigers were picked first in the SEC by the media, to no surprise to anyone.
Nope.
LSU will go unbeaten in league play. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I can't tell you much. I mean, I know that South Carolina lost 3 of their top 5 or so.
I don't know if they're playing Carolina this season, though.
I know Tennessee's been pretty good. Mississippi State's had a good run at it. But, what I know is that LSU lost 2 games in total last year and won the national championship, and they're going to have a better team this year. Maybe they lost 3. They lost to Carolina on Super Bowl Sunday, they lost in the SEC tournament, and that's it. Because they didn't obviously lose in the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, that's all they lost.
They do play South Carolina this year. It will be at home.
Aaliyah Boston's not there. So, and it's like they're going to be better than they were last year. They lost 2 games total and won the national championship. I'll take them to go undefeated in conference play. It happens a lot in women's basketball. Certainly South Carolina did it, I think, last year. They did last year. So, I'll take them to go undefeated. I feel pretty good about the direction of that program. That kind of goes without saying. I chatted with Kim 2 weeks ago when LSU was playing a home game against Arkansas. And she's fired up. They were ready to go, and they were out there at practice. We talked about them getting their practice squad, the men that practice with them, national championship rings. And I think there may be some more jewelry coming this way in the spring for next year. And that's for sure with Kim's team. All right, that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, you can all catch it on demand at 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. Open the show talking about some guys I'd like to see LSU utilize on Saturday against Army. I opened with a soundbite. Brian Kelly said we got to focus in on Auburn. On Army, the good news is I don't have to do that as a radio guy here. I can just tell you what I think I should see against Army and then get ready for Bama. I gave you that in hour number 1. You can find that at Hunt on LSU, our LSU football YouTube channel. JD Picell from On3 Sports talked all things college football at 1:15. It was a What If Wednesday. Talked about shooting a free throw for $1 million, so we're going to jail, and my wife wants me to shoot it and doesn't care if I go to jail. You can listen to that segment from 1:30. The media picked LSU to finish 13th in the SEC in basketball, and preseason player of the year, Wade Taylor. Also, Aaron Nola, pretty good. I talked about that at the end of hour number 1. Adam Stites was with us, part of the USA Today Network, covers the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was at 2:30. At 2:15, I went through the Saints' issues on offense and whether or not they can fix them. So if you want to hear some sound from Derek Carr, you can find that at Hunt on Saints. That's our Saints YouTube channel. Just went over 1,000 subscribers, so we appreciate you all for jumping on board there, getting the black and gold coverage from right here on 1045ESPN.com. If you have not subscribed to Hunt on Saints, please head over and do that. Andre Evans decommits from LSU, headed to Georgia. I touched on that briefly in my SEC football power rankings. Tigers moved up a spot. LSU at number 4. You want to hear the rest of them, you can go to YouTube or anywhere on demand, or you can just wait for it to be posted on Instagram or Twitter, where you can scream at me and tell me that I'm an idiot. But that'll be fine as long as you're engaging. And then we played some technical. But that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're back tomorrow with Luke Johnson previewing Saints and Jags. We'll hear from Chris Blair as well in advance of the Brian Kelly Show tomorrow from TJ Ribs. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, and we'll be back here same time, same place tomorrow. Matt Moscona about to drive you home on After Further View. Have a great Wednesday. See you tomorrow.